think you know the Casio G-Shock? Thanks to its legendary toughness and timekeeping autonomy, it's no secret why the mighty G-Shock has earned its place on the wrists of weekend warriors, first responders, and militaries the world over. But there are levels to this stuff, and there's a little-known collection of top-shelf G-Shock watches made for folks who crave the very best for everything in life. Called MRG, this flagship line of G-Shock watches takes the most cutting-edge tech G-Shock has to offer and blends it with the highest levels of traditional Japanese craftsmanship. We're talking about hybrid titanium and Cobarian case construction with artisanal armor-like flourishes, all honed like the edges of a samurai sword. Every beloved reference in the G-Shock collection gets the coveted MRG treatment, from the original square case digital reference from 1983 to the beloved analog Frogman dive watch, all the way up to the newest fan favorite, the MRG B2100 with its octagonal bezel and its wild interlocking beams dial. Ready for a deep dive into the MRG collection from G-Shock? Discover the full range this holiday season at Topper Jewelers. And while supplies last, mention this ad to receive a special gift with your next G-Shock order.
Symbiotica is one of the fastest growing health and wellness companies right now. It's so refreshing to see a health and wellness brand only use clean, premium ingredients in its formulas to grow this quickly. Symbiotica's supplements are made with 100% clean, natural ingredients. There are no seed oils, fillers, additives, artificial ingredients, or natural flavors in their formulas. They come in this convenient pouch that is super easy to travel with, which is perfect for on the go. For men who want more energy, to build more muscle, to get better sleep, and to feel their best so they can perform their best, Symbiotica is for you. Since subscribing to Symbiotica, I've felt more alert and energized. Mineral Shilajit is by far my favorite supplement. It's nutrient-rich, with over 84 essential vitamins that support overall health. This formula is great for men, as it can support reproductive health, boost testosterone, and support the body during stress. I think all men need to try Symbiotica. They are having an awesome promotion right now. You can get 15% off plus free shipping when you start a subscription. Head to CYMBIOTIKA.com and use code START for 15% off plus free shipping when you start a subscription.
It's time. It's time. Time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers Web Zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
What's up, faithful? You're listening to another episode of the 49ers Web Zone No Huddle Podcast, a part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Brian Renick. He's Al Sacco. It is election day. It is also trade deadline day. I don't know what coordinate with the NFL a little bit better and have election day on something other than trade deadline day, because obviously we know which one is more important. But the 49ers, I mean, they had one of their patented right at the last minute trades, very similar to the Charles Omenihu trade, also with the Houston Texans, but it was a relatively uneventful day. How are you feeling about the 49ers post trade deadline?
Before we get into that, Brian, I have to vent a little bit about, as you know, as you listen to this show, I've been very happy about one of my fantasy teams. Like, I think I'm loaded. I have, I think, the second most points, the most points in my league. Yesterday, it was a fucking Greek tragedy in my house, the way that things unfolded. And let me explain. So Sunday, I think I'm done in this particular league because Jackson Smith and Jigma decided to have the best game of his life. And I'm literally like, I'm going to win pretty easily as long as Jackson Smith and Jigma doesn't have the best game he's ever had in his life. And lo and behold, he has the best game he's ever had in his life. And he had most of it in like the last 5 minutes of the game, which is ridiculous. So I go into it Sunday night, like, listen, man, I need like 45 points out of Justin Jefferson and K-Dot. Impossible, because he still had Travis Kelce going, but that's what I need. Justin Jefferson, being Justin Jefferson, steps up and has like 23 points. And now I'm only a point away. Now I'm right back in it. All right, it's a new ball game. Let's go. Kelce against K. Dotton. Is K. Dotton really going to have 3 huge games in a row? Yes, he is. He's going to score 21 points. I'm going to be up by 5 points going into when the Chiefs are getting the ball back at the end of the fourth quarter to run the clock out. I'm good, right? I'm like getting ready for bed. You know, I'm putting on my jammies. I'm like, I'm good. But chalk it up in the W. Nope. Travis Kelce, 14 catches. And I knew I was going to lose when the Bucs had driven down at the end of the game and Baker threw it low to Otten and it went off his hands. I said, that's it. They're going to score a touchdown. They're going to tie it. And then fucking Kelsey's going to score a touchdown to win it. And he didn't score a touchdown, but what he did was have like 4 catches for 20 yards and beat me by 0.8 points. I've now lost 4 games between my 2 leagues by less than a point, Brian. I'm inconsolable. I hate fantasy football. I cannot do it anymore. Awful.
It
Awful.
is. It can be a fickle mistress, if you will.
It is. She's a cruel mistress. Cruel.
Yes.
Absolutely ridiculous.
That is brutal. I am in one fantasy league that matters. And it's with friends and whatnot. But my wife joined the league for the first time this year. And last week I learned that she had not been setting her lineup each week. She had just kind of and so I'm like, all right,
are you going to divorce her? Like, is that it?
No, but here's what happened. I played her this week and I was like, look, I'm going to set your lineup for you. Like, I'm not looking for an easy, like, knowing that there are like 3 guys that are out, and lo and behold, she beat me this week. And I was just like,
oh, that sucks.
Of course. So, but no, it's
you did
the
right
like
thing.
I said, it's not.
It came back to bite you in the ass. You did the right thing, and
it did.
That's what you get for it.
Yeah, and sometimes it works out that way, but that's okay.
All right. So you asked me about the 49ers.
Real
football. I'm surprised they didn't do anything, because this regime has always been aggressive in season. And you can't knock them for being like, they sat on their hands. They never sit on their hands. Whether it's Emmanuel Sanders or whether it's Christian McCaffrey or Charles Omenihu, whatever, they make a move every year to make themselves better. Chase Young. They make a late trade for Khalil Davis, not to be confused with Kalia Davis. When I first read it, I thought they traded Kalia Davis. I was like, what the hell is going on? But they acquired Khalil Davis from the Texans, who's a rotational defensive lineman. He's a depth piece. It's not anything to get overly excited about. But to me, the silence was deafening with this. Deafening, because you saw their competitors get better. The Lions needed to make a move after losing Hutchinson. They did. They get Zarius Smith. The Commanders go out and get Marshawn Lattimore. The Niners do nothing. So here's what I'm thinking. If I'm in John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's head, they're hoping that because they're going to get healthier in spots, McCaffrey, Dre Greenlaw, maybe Hufanga, they're going to get better that way. And they certainly will. Wide receiver, getting a vet wide receiver, what that would have done is knocked his reps down. I firmly believe they have a lot of faith in Pearsall, and they want to see him play this year, because they're going to need him next year, because we don't know when Ayuk's coming back. So you got Debo, Jennings, and Pearsall. They're going to run with that. That's where I feel their head is at. But the 2 things that stick out in my head is, one, I still think the D-line is not good enough. I thought they needed help there, whether it was another pass rusher or somebody, a better defensive tackle, somebody who's going to maybe play more meaningful snaps. They didn't do that. And I think they're going to get, when they get in the playoff, they play a team like Detroit, it's going to hurt them. The other thing that I think is going to hurt them, even though McCaffrey's coming back, and I got some stats on McCaffrey I want to share later in the show, but even though he's coming back, Ayuk was their deep threat. They don't really have a deep threat right now. Who's going to stretch that field? You don't have anybody, unless you're going to throw Jacob Cowing out there to a couple times a game. But those 3 main guys, they don't have anybody to stretch the field right now. That's a concern as well for me as they move forward.
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, I think it's fair to say that they looked at their team internally and went, this might not be our year, right? We're 4-4.
Possible.
We just hit the bye. That could be one. The other could be, we're not one player away, and we need to stockpile our draft picks, because we're about to pay our quarterback, which means that we're going to have to supplement this roster with cheap, controllable talent moving forward. And if we're trading all of our picks away, it's going to be more difficult to do that. And then 3, like you said, they looked at it when None of these teams made anywhere near as an impactful addition as we will make simply by adding Christian McCaffrey back onto this roster, since he hasn't played at all this season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I tweeted out on Monday, once the practice reports came out and McCaffrey and Jennings and Moody were back at practice, and I said, the 49ers have added an MVP level running back, one of the better possession wide receivers in the NFL, and a 3rd round kicker, and the trade deadline hasn't even passed yet, right? And that, but to be perfectly honest, that is what they're doing, right? Like Jennings has been out for, I believe, 3 games now that he missed.
Yeah, something like that.
And then obviously McCaffrey's been out all season. And so it might simply be like, look, we're not one guy away on the defensive side of the ball to make us a top 10 defense. We're optimistic that Dre Greenlaw is going to be back. That will be a big addition for us. We are optimistic about the current rotation that we have. It's not the best, but you know, they're getting pressure on quarterbacks. The question is, can they stop the run? They've signed Evan Anderson to the to the 53 man. They've got bodies there, and they've added another one. So, you know, to me, it's more like, without giving up a significant amount of draft capital for somebody like Azeez Ojulari, who all reports say that the Giants were seeking a high 5th or low 4th round pick. Well, I wouldn't want the 49ers to send their 4th round pick to the Giants for, 8 games of Azeez Ojulari.
Right.
That's an overpay, right? There's only one name that kept getting mentioned where I was like, I would send a 2nd round pick and change. And that was Jeffrey Simmons from the Titans. But I don't think the Titans were ever really that interested in trading Jeffrey Simmons. That would have been a move that altered the defensive line. Everything else, Azeez Ojulari, even Calais Campbell would have been good, but I didn't hear any rumblings of him. So, honestly, I just think it's like they looked at the team and said, look, we're not one person away on the defensive side. And on the offensive side, we're getting our MVP back. We're getting Jennings back. We're getting Juwan Jennings back. We're going to be whole on the offensive side of the ball. And perhaps more than in years past, maybe we look at Lions and go, hey, let's get in a shootout. Let's do it. Let's go offense for offense and see who comes out on top. Because ultimately, I don't think there was a move out there that makes this defense one that goes, we can stop anybody that we come up against. And so, And then the other thing you've got to take into account is this defense will likely get a little bit better as the season progresses, because they're just getting more and more used to, Nick Sorensen, and they're getting used to. Made it to where it was a very quiet trade deadline. They made a move that maybe we look back on and go, look, that's like a Charles Omenihu trade where it was like, who? And then all of a sudden, he's making meaningful contributions towards the end of the season.
I don't know. I just don't think they're good enough. I just don't. You're not getting Ayuk back, like I said. You're not getting Hargrave back. I may be getting back for the playoffs, but even if you do, he's coming off a major injury that he's got to get himself back into football shape. When you want to win the Super Bowl and you're the 49ers. I think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. I hope they prove me wrong over the next 9 games, but it's just sort of where they are. And I just going back to, I think last year was their chance. It was there. And again, the football god said, all right, we gave you a chance. We gave you the choice in overtime. You screwed it up. So we'll see. They've looked bad before, and things have looked bleak before, and they've turned it around and made a huge run. And if they get in the playoffs, they're good enough and experienced enough. It's the thing with the experience. They have so much playoff experience on that team that they can go and maybe win a couple close games in the playoffs. But I was surprised that this was the only move. I know there wasn't a lot out there, but they've been so aggressive, and I thought they really needed help on that defensive line, but it just didn't happen.
Where'd you get those shoes? Easy. They're from DSW, because DSW has the exact right shoes for whatever you're into right now. You know, like the sneakers that make office hours feel like happy hour. The boots that turn grocery aisles into runways. And all the styles that show off the many sides of you, from daydreamer to multitasker and everything in between. Because you do it all in really great shoes. Find a shoe for every you at your DSW store or dsw.com.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
When it comes to hiring, don't search for great talent. Match with them. Thanks to Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find qualified candidates fast. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey, leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day. Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Just go to Indeed.com/listen right now. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility. Go to Indeed.com/listen and tell them you heard about them from this podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With McCaffrey coming back, I wrote an article over the weekend. You can check it out on 49erswebzone.com about what's been missing from the 49ers offense. I broke down in a few areas, and it essentially comes down to, without saying it, they are missing Christian McCaffrey. And I'll break down to you what I wrote in the article. So in 2023,
Christian McCaffrey,
the 49ers actually had the fewest third down conversion attempts in the league. They had 179. That's it. The next closest team was, I think it was Miami, and Miami, and they had 23 more than the 49ers. 23 more. And the Niners were 4th best in the NFL at converting third downs. So not only were they not having third downs, they weren't even getting to third down. And then when they were converting them at the top 4 rate in the league. That's how efficient and good this offense was in 2023. Now this year, they haven't been as fortunate. They already have 97 third downs. They're on pace for 206. That's not awful, but that's not anywhere near as efficient where they were the year before. And they're converting those at a 43.3% clip, which is obviously lower than what I just said. Now, even though it doesn't show up in the running statistics, McCaffrey is missing in the passing game on those short passes to get yourself in second and manageable, in third and manageable, to convert those third downs. So Purdy's avoided checkdowns this season. Last year, running backs, not including use check, running backs, they caught 76 of Purdy's 308 completions, and McCaffrey had 67 of those 76 catches. That's 24.6% of Purdy's completions that went to running backs. This season, Mason Grendo and Patrick Taylor have combined for just 15 receptions of Purdy's completions. And that's 9.6%. So that's a huge difference in the passing game. And we know about the red zone too. Last season, the Niners had the highest red zone percentage. They had 45 touchdowns and 67 attempts, and McCaffrey had 18 of those scores. And they haven't been as good in the red zone this year. They're getting to the red zone, but they've only converted 48.6% of those, which going into this past weekend was 27th in the NFL. So you could see those 2 third downs in red zone.
Blue Balls offense. It's back.
And maybe McCaffrey can help release some of that when he gets back on the field, because
yes,
when you look at those numbers, it backs it up that what's the missing ingredient there? It's him. Now, I know Ayuk's not going to be there now, so we'll see if that balances out. But the missing ingredient between last year and this year with those numbers, to me, is McCaffrey.
Yeah, I've said this before. It still makes no sense to me why the 49ers just felt like they just simply refused to see if Mason, Garendo, Patrick Taylor Jr., right, that triumvirate could replicate even 50% of what Christian McCaffrey was giving them in the passing game. It's like they said to themselves, if Christian McCaffrey isn't back there, then we're not throwing to our running backs. And again, I don't know why that is. I would love for somebody to ask Kyle Shanahan that question. I don't know that we'd get an actual answer, but it certainly seems like it was not even a reluctance, but an outright avoidance of involving the running backs in the passing game. And it's obvious, and it's not just that, but it's just the gravity that Christian McCaffrey has on the football field when he's on it, right? He is the guy that you have to account for in the 49ers offense. And when that guy is gone, it's easier to focus your attention on stopping Brandon Ayuk or stopping Deebo Samuel or whatever. But when you have to focus so much on stopping Christian McCaffrey, that's when I think, and when we get McCaffrey back on the field, I think we're going to see more of those, those plays that go just right behind linebackers, right? The patented Purdy just drops it right over the top of a linebacker to it used to be Ayuk. Now it'll be Deebo or Jennings or Pearsall or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's obvious that this offense is not as good as it was last year, and largely it came back exactly the same except for Christian McCaffrey. So, there's really no way to deny that his absence has made this offense a lot less efficient and a lot less impressive than it was last year. So it will be interesting to see if they just kind of hit the ground running against the Bucs team on Sunday that gave Kansas City all that they could handle without Mike Evans and without Chris Godwin. And but we are talking about the 49ers offense versus that Bucs defense. So it will be interesting. My biggest fear, obviously, is that it's just a matter of time before one of those Achilles ruptures, and then you're without him for the rest of this season and probably all of next season, and he's probably never the same. And I mean, I don't know how to avoid that. Ayuk, like, I don't.
Yeah, without Ayuk and CMC,
exactly.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. So I mean, but at the same time, it's like I don't know what you do outside of like preemptively having Achilles tendon surgery. I don't know. Like, and medical professionals wouldn't do that. Like, no, we're not going to give you surgery on something that doesn't need it right now, right? So,
right.
But from all accounts, no setbacks. I've seen some of the videos of him at practice. He looks good. You saw him running, you saw him cutting, you saw him jumping, all the things that would put, a lot of pressure on that Achilles tendon. And as it stands right now, it seems like things are looking okay. So I'm excited to have him back. I'm excited to have Jennings back. I think that's also going to obviously lift Brock Purdy's play as well. To have that security blanket of Christian McCaffrey back, I think is going to increase his confidence, and in turn, it's just going to elevate the offense as a whole. So obviously excited to have him back. And then, on the defensive side of the ball, Greenlaw will be back probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. His practice window hasn't been opened yet. Whether or not Hufanga comes back, I don't know that makes a difference. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know that I'm missing Talanoa Hufanga all that much, outside of just a little bit more veteran leadership on that back end, right? Because Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa are 24 and 22 respectively. So, the youth kind of rears its head every once in a while. But an old friend is back with the team. Tayshaun Gibson was released by the Jaguars, and he is now on the 49ers practice squad, along with Adrian Amos, another veteran safety. So I think they've got kind of their contingency plan there.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you love true crime or comedy, celebrity interviews or news, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue. And guess what? Now you can call them on your auto insurance too, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. Get your quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Premium luggage that's not just an accessory, but a companion on your journey. Briggs & Riley believes in luggage so deeply, they've crafted it to last for life. Guaranteed. At Briggs & Riley, any broken part will be repaired. Every stitch, every wheel, even every zipper. With our new line of Simpatico luggage, you can pack 34% more. Then compress your luggage so it fits perfectly into your overhead bin. Briggs & Riley. Travel uninterrupted. Learn more and choose your color at briggs-riley.com.
This team is a second half team. It has been the entire time that Kyle Shanahan has been here.
Yes.
If you look at their record within the historically after week 9, they're really, really, really good. And while
after the bye, they're 43-18 under Shanahan. After the bye,
it's decent, pretty decent.
Not bad.
Tough,
705 winning percentage, pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. So, I think, ultimately, like, the dust has settled on the bye. The dust has settled on the trade deadline. This is the team that they have. And, is it good enough to win a Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't think so. But at the same time, so much can happen in the next 9 weeks. That it's hard to and you said something earlier and it got me thinking, like, the one thing that the 49ers have going for them is that a lot of the contenders in the NFC are relatively new contenders, right? The Lions are still a young team and they're new to success, and the Commanders are obviously a young team led by a young quarterback. The Vikings are a younger team with a quarterback that you can't really have a ton of confidence in. And even the Packers are a young team. So, all of the contenders right now in the NFC, while the Lions are far and away the best team in the NFC, like, it's not close at this point. There's still something to be said about this 49ers team, their veteran laden team, their experience laden team, and a team that has been to the playoffs and has won and knows how to do it. These other teams don't, and it'll be interesting to see if they can get in. All they got to do is get in, and from there, you can see what kind of noise they can make.
After the bye from 2017 through 2023, 5-1, 2-4, 10-3, 2-4. Last 3 years now, 8-4, 9-0, 7-2. So the last 3 years, when this is the core of this team, really, 24-6 after the bye. It is a second half team. Can they do it again this year? I mean, history tells us that they will. So we hope.
Right.
That's
if you were betting on it, you would absolutely bet that yes, they will, because
they're gonna turn it around. Now the pieces are different. But we'll see. Where I want to see them be more like the 49ers. We mentioned they're not moving the ball, hasn't been an issue for them, but we mentioned they're not scoring as much in the red zone, but also they're not scoring as much outside the 20 either. They only have 2 explosive touchdowns of 20 yards or more the whole entire season.
Yeah.
They had 15 last year. Debo had 5. Kittle had 3. McCaffrey had 3. Ayuk had 2. Mason had 1. Juszczyk had 1. This year, Jennings has 1 and Samuel has 1. That is it. Every other touchdown has been from inside the 20. So you want to see them get those explosive plays, get those long touchdowns. Hopefully McCaffrey can open that up for them, because they're going to need that. They have a tough schedule, man. They're going to have to score to beat the Bucs. They're going to have to score to beat the Bills, to beat Green Bay, to beat the Lions.
Yep.
And if you look at the NFC West right now, look at the schedules for some of these teams. Look at the Rams schedule. The Rams have to play the Patriots, the Dolphins. I'm forgetting the other 2 teams now, but it's one game looks tough and the other 3 are very winnable for the Rams. They could easily be 7-5. What the hell are those other 2 teams? We'll have to look it up, but they're getting it together. They're getting healthy. They can easily get to 10 wins right now. Arizona at 5-4. I mean, we keep waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
It's not happening. Already at 5-4, they can be at 9 or 10 wins. I don't know what the hell to make of Seattle. I don't think they're very good, but they're in it. They can still hang around. But I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle finishes in last place in the division at this point. Really wouldn't. So The Niners are originally, I was like, oh, the NFC West, they can maybe win it with eight or 9 wins. I don't know now. I don't know. I really think that the Rams and Cardinals are going to stick around for the long haul. So the Niners are going to have to be the Niners here in the second half. Again, history has said that they will be. So, we'll see on that. Are you looking up the Rams schedule? You look like you're looking something up.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and to me, the biggest concern in the NFC West, just because of who we know the 49ers to be currently and what we think is their biggest weakness on defense, is the Cardinals. They've been running the ball really consistently. The Rams play this is
read
the
it off.
remaining
Read it
Rams
off.
schedule.
Let's see what we think. So 4-4. Let's see what we think.
They are home to Miami this week, Monday night.
I'm gonna say win
on Veterans Day.
Okay. 5-4.
At New England.
6-4.
Hosting Philadelphia.
6-5.
At New Orleans.
7-5.
Hosting Buffalo.
7-6.
San Francisco.
7-7.
At New York Jets.
There's no way they beat the Niners twice. 8-7.
Hosting the Cardinals. Hosting the Seahawks.
Okay. I'll say they'll split those. So 9-8. So I'll say the Rams are going to maybe get to 9-8. Do you have the Cardinal schedule there?
I don't, but I can get it. Give me 1 second.
All right,
but
yeah,
like I
let's
said, to me, I'm almost more concerned, like I said, about the Cardinals just because of what I think they could do against the 49ers, on
let's see what
ground. Like I said, I think, the teams that can choke the clock away, I think are the biggest dangers. But the Cardinals are hosting the Jets, and then week 11 they have a bye, and then they're at Seattle.
Hold on. Do you think they beat? I'm gonna say they beat the Jets. So 6-4. They're at Seattle. I'll give them a split.
And then
with
they
Seattle,
are at Seattle after the bye.
So
after the bye.
Okay.
At Minnesota.
Oh, 6-6.
Hosting Seattle.
Give them the split. 7-6.
Hosting New England.
8-6.
At Carolina.
Oh, 9-6. Really? They get New England and Carolina in back-to-back weeks?
Mm-hmm. At LA.
Who won the first game with them? The Cardinals won. I got to give them a split. 9-7.
And then hosting the Niners.
I don't think they're going to sweep the Niners. So 9-8. So we had the Rams and the Cardinals both at 9-8. So the Niners got to get to 10 wins. If the Niners don't get to 10 wins, it's a massive disappointment. I don't care what their schedule is.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. With this roster, absolutely. If you're not getting to 10 wins, that's a failure.
If they
100%.
can't finish it, it's 6-3. It would be a massive. So it's going to be tight, though. I mean, I think it's going to go down to the end. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I never anticipated the NFC West being anything to worry about, and here we are. But again, when you start 4-4, this is kind of where you put yourself. And again, you lost the game to the Cardinals that you should have won, and you lost the game to the Rams that you should have won. So you should be 6-2 right now instead of 4-4 with a commanding lead in the division, and you're not, and it's because you choked away 2 division games.
These are self-inflicted wounds.
More often than not, choking away division games come back to bite you in the ass in the end.
Yeah, they put themselves in this position, but they can also dig themselves out of it. I can't wait to see what they've had the bye. They're going to come back a little bit healthy. They've had time to kind of, recharge and get all the bad vibes of the first half of the season out. They got hit with those 2 big injuries with Hargrave and Ayuk, and now maybe with Pearsall back and McCaffrey coming back, you get some good vibes, and they can start running out there and start running off some victories. They've done it in the past. I think I feel okay. I think I feel okay with it. Again, the team has too much talent not to get to 10 wins. I feel like that's what they're going to need to get the division. The Buffalo Green Bay stretch is going to be really tough. Those 2 away games. If they split those, I'll be really happy with that.
Yeah.
Detroit's obviously a really tough game. I think there's some losses in there. I don't see them going 9-0 or even really 7-2. There's going to be some losses, but if all you got to do is 6-3,
6-3,
that's all you got to do. I think that they're more than capable of that.
I agree. And, I think sometimes with the frustration of the way that they started at 4-4, it's easy to forget that they came into the season arguably with the best roster in the NFL. And while they are down their wide receiver one, an important defensive tackle, they're still largely the best roster in the NFL. I don't know that you can claim that they are the best now, but one of the best. And so again, if you can't finish the season 10-7 with this roster, then you don't deserve to win the West, and you don't deserve to be in the playoffs, because I have a feeling that there's only one team coming out of the West. I don't think there's a wild card team coming out of the West. So
probably not.
But like we said, the NFC East is a dumpster fire outside of Washington and Philly. But those two are cruising to a playoff spot.
Oh, absolutely. I think they're both 10+1 teams easy. Yeah.
And then in the North, I think you're getting at least two teams from the North.
Definitely two out of there.
So yeah, so you gotta win the West. That's the bottom line. And again, if this team can't win 10 games, then yikes.
It just feels like there are so many bad teams in the league, and most of them are in the AFC. But there's just some teams that just, unless they play each other, for the like the Saints and the Panthers, for the most part, they're gonna get trounced. It just feel like you play the Patriots, or you play the Panthers, or you play right now. It looks like the Giants. They just look like just marking up for W's, man. And these other teams can get really fat. So it's still a matter of I don't know who's really, really good. Commanders have a good record. I don't know if they're really good. I feel like they've gotten a little bit lucky the past couple of weeks. I think the Steelers are a great test for them this week. I'm actually going to bet Steelers are +1.5 in that game. I like the Steelers coming off a bye in that game. And I like that's a good spot to fade the Commanders, I feel like. But they're a team that, you don't know. The Falcons are starting to come on, but do they have the defense? But they're going to cruise now with the Bucs injuries. They're going to cruise to that division.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and the Commanders got better today with that Marshawn Lattimore trade. That was
it was a great trade. It was a great trade for them. Yeah, and the North, the Vikings aren't going to go anywhere. I'm sorry, not going to go anywhere in the sense of that they're not going to fade. I don't think. I also don't think they're going to go anywhere when they get in the playoffs. But double-digit win team, absolutely. The Detroit's going to, if they stay healthy, they're a monster. And even with Jordan Love banged up, the Packers are going to get to your 10 wins. So it's really a matter if those three teams make it. Again, it's what can the NFC West, how many teams can get to close to 10 wins there? Because the Bears are going to fade. The Bears have a really tough schedule at 4-4. They have horrible coaching. They may end up 7-10. I don't even think they're going to have a winning record, the Bears. The Giants suck. Dallas is a dumpster fire. The Saints are a dumpster fire. The Panthers are a dumpster fire. And the NFC West, it's not pretty, but it's competitive right now. So outside chance two teams get in, but I agree with you. I think only the division winner is ultimately going to be the team that gets in there.
Yeah. But hey, it all starts this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. And we will preview that game later this week. But for a very exciting, very, very eventful trade deadline, I texted Al earlier. I was like, I have 15 solid minutes on Khalil Davis.
But I always love the things you say for Khalil Davis. People like, oh, let me tell you about Khalil Davis. You have no idea who Khalil Davis. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody watches him. Maybe you heard his name in passing on a game. Stop being like, oh, let me tell you about Khalil Davis. You don't. Come on, give me a break.
Here's one thing that I did learn that I was like, dang, that's impressive. So he came out in the 2020 draft. He was drafted by Tampa Bay or signed as an undrafted free agent. I'm not sure, but he came out of college in 2020. And he was listed at 6'2", 315, and he ran a 4.75 40, which is impressive considering Juwan Jennings ran a 4.72 40, and he's a wide receiver. So Now, granted, we know that's slow for a wide receiver. We know that Juwan Jennings is slow for a wide receiver. But still, the fact that he was 6'2", 315, and he ran a 4.7, 540. But even more impressive, his 10-yard split was the same as Brock Purdy. Again, at 6'2", 315. So he's very athletic. And I've seen some people posting cut-ups of some of his plays, and he does look like he can be disruptive. And I also saw a tweet that over his last 5 games, he's been really, really productive for the Texans. So, again, it's a depth piece for the 49ers, but a move that I think will pay dividends in the end. But again, like we said, it all starts this week against Tampa Bay, and we'll be back to preview that game later this week. But for Al, I'm Brian. Later.
Let us on 3. 1, 2, 3.
.2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.
Hey, it's Tiki Barber. Getting ready for game day looks a lot different for me now, but the one thing I look forward to most these days are my snacks. My favorite is buffalo chicken dip, and the best way to make it is with some Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise. Hellmann's Mayonnaise is the secret to bring out the rich and creamy taste in all of your game day dishes. So, give it a try, and may your game day be delicious with Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise. Shop at your local Walmart, Kroger, or grocery store and add some extra deliciousness to your game day dishes this football season.